In this episode of Idea City,
Anybody, anywhere in the world could offer me a job for 1 week. I'd work 52 different jobs in 52 weeks in search of my passion, donate all my wages to charity, sit down with my employers and ask them, hey, how did you get to where you did in your career?
Moses Neimer's Idea City Conference. Ideas change the world.
How many of you have heard of Cortez Island? All right, it's a little secret, Canadian secret, off the coast of British Columbia. It's kind of the last refuge of hippy-dippy in a way, and it seems to attract a lot of strange characters. So I was there recently and I stumbled on these two guys, and I'm not even begin to try and describe them. I'm just going to bring them out one at a time, except to say that Sean Aiken seems to be a fellow who practices speed dating for employment. Come on out here, Sean.
Strange characters, yeah. My story begins back as a kid. I was growing up. You can see that my mom used to cut my hair. Obviously, the bowl she was using that day was a little crooked. But brought up, and I was being hounded with this question all the time. Sean, what do you want to be when you grow up? Such a simple, seemingly harmless question. When we're young, we have this deep belief that we'll never grow up. Part of me still questions whether it's actually going to happen. What do you want to be when you grow up? I had no idea how to answer this question, but from a young age, I had this strange sense, a strange feeling, probably around elementary school, that I was supposed to have an answer to it. So I told people that I wanted to be a professional athlete, and that was cute. Then later on in high school, approaching high school graduation, I thought, okay, I felt not only should I have an answer, but it's got to be good. It's got to be realistic, something successful. So I said, I'm going to be a physiotherapist. I had no idea what a physiotherapist did. It was just an answer. I ended up going to business school. I felt with that, then I could keep the options open. I remember being in school, I could not wait to get out. I had these grand ideals, these big ambitions, really vague. I wanted to go places. I wanted to be somebody and do stuff. I had this feeling inside there was something more. The only problem was I had no idea where those places were, what that stuff was, and most importantly, who that somebody was. When I'd finally graduated, as much as I was really excited for this moment, I was also really terrified. I was really frightened, because it meant entering into the working world, and we're brought up being taught that work is a terrible thing. Everybody hates work. Mondays suck. You're not supposed to enjoy work, you endure it. But if you work hard enough and you work long enough, one day you might get to retire. My mom retired last year, and she got this card, this congratulations card. Congratulations, Mom. Now that you've worked 40-odd years of your life, you can now finally start to enjoy the ride. Imagine the possibilities. Mom, go ahead, take a nap without guilt. You know what? Take some time for yourself. You've earned it. So I wasn't too excited about jumping into the working world because, of course, to earn this nap without guilt, I'd first have to become successful to get to retirement. And I've been taught that being successful meant, okay, I have to make a lot of money. I have to wear a suit and tie, always. I had to work in an office 60 hours a week minimum. And, of course, under no circumstances are you to have long blonde dreadlocks. So my idea for the one-week job project was saying, well, first of all, let me start with nothing. Let me learn about what I need in a career to be happy. What are those characteristics? And at the end of the year, I would put those things together and see what job came out of it.
Great ideas are meant to be shared. Join the discussion on Facebook. Moses Znaimer's Idea City Conference. Ideas change the world.
So I ended up taking off and doing some soul searching. I went and backpacked throughout Europe. I took advantage of this program in Quebec, this government program to learn French. Came back a year later, broke, and it was time to find a job. So busted out the newspaper, went online, these different job search engines. And the thing about today is that you look at all these different job titles, and they sound amazing no matter what the job is, but they're equally ambiguous. So I'm looking at these different job titles, and as much as they sound awesome, I have no idea what the job is going to be like. So I thought back to, I was in my final year at school, final year doing my business degree, sitting around the dinner room table with my family, sitting there with my mom, my sister, and my dad. This is my dad. It's cutie. Sitting around the dinner room table, and my older sister decides, she's going to play the big sister role, put me on the spot, a couple months away from graduation. So, Sean, graduating in a couple months, what are you going to do? I, of course, had nothing to contribute to this conversation. And as we all know, our families are experts at telling us what we should be doing, so they had an opinion. And my sister kindly pointed out that I'd spent 5 years of my life in school and a bunch of money getting this piece of paper that said business administration degree, and suggested that perhaps I should, perhaps look in business. My mom, as amazing moms are, she said, Sean, what about teaching? You'd be such a good teacher. But my dad, he was the only one that didn't have a specific advice for me. He just, said, Sean, look, it doesn't matter what you do. Whatever it is, just make sure it's something you're passionate about. I've been alive nearly 60 years, and I've yet to find something that I'm passionate about. Then he quickly added, besides your mother. I quickly stopped him from pursuing that thought process any further. But hearing him say this, talk about, spending 60 years and not sure what he's passionate about, made me realize how many people are in that same exact situation. In the same career, 20, 30, 40 years, and they don't necessarily enjoy what they're doing. They endure it. And I thought, I made a promise to myself, I'm going to find something that I'm passionate about. If I am going to spend my entire life working towards that retirement, I want to do something that fulfills me, something that I enjoy. And that's so easy to say. We often hear, you don't know what you do, go find your passion. But what we don't often hear is, how do you go about finding your passion? So that's where I got this idea to start the 1 Week Job Project. I thought, what if I could take some time and first of all, develop some self-knowledge and get out there and try out different things? Because I think a mistake that a lot of us make when we choose a career is that we focus on an end title. And I think this comes from, from a young age, this focus on the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? How are you supposed to know when you don't have you don't know yourself, you don't know what you're looking for a career, or a lot of knowledge of the job market? So my idea for the 1 Week Job Project was saying, first of all, let me start with nothing. Let me learn about what I need in a career to be happy. What are those characteristics? And at the end of the year, I would put those things together and see what job came out of it. So I went to my best friend, Ian McKenzie, who's a filmmaker and also a web designer, and he helped me develop the website oneweekjob.com. And on here I wrote, anybody, anywhere in the world could offer me a job for 1 week. I'd work 52 different jobs in 52 weeks in search of my passion, donate all my wages to charity, sit down with my employers and ask them, hey, how did you get to where you did in your career? What advice do you have for other people coming out of school or other people facing transition, unsure what they want to do? So it's incredible I set out on my journey, and about 5 weeks in, I started getting offers all around Canada. Media like CBC and Globe and Mail picked it up, and then halfway through, I started getting job offers all around the world. And things like CNN, New York Times, Good Morning America picked it up, which were amazing in terms of getting the story out there and getting me job offers, but they weren't nearly as epic as this Chinese magazine. Now, I have no idea what this says, but I do like to point out, though, if you look closely, you'll see there's 6 photos of me on there and only 1 of David Beckham. Just saying, slow news day. Here I was coming out of school. I thought I was alone in this search. Everyone else seemed to have it all figured out. Started receiving emails from people all over the world, and it wasn't just young people getting out of school making that first job choice, but it was also people, Zoomers, saying, hey, Sean, I'm 57 years old, I'm on my 5th career, and I'm not done yet. I was tossed pizzas at Pizza Maker in Cape Cod, florist in Edmonton, Cowboy in Wyoming with Chet the Cowboy. It's a park ranger in Hawaii.
Get the latest Idea City news instantly. Follow us on Twitter. Moses Znaimer's Idea City Conference. Ideas change the world.
So over the course of the year, people would email me or call me with different job offers, and I would, it was pretty much always last minute. I never knew where I was going week to week. I traveled all around North America. So I did everything from real estate agent in Beverly Hills. I was the mascot of the Washington Capitals. I was a stock trader, lost $1,000 in the stock market as a stock trader. This picture was obviously taken before that happened. Yeah. I was a firefighter in Florida. Got to opportunity to work with the Canadian Forces in Trenton, Ontario. Got to fly the Griffin helicopter and do training drops out of a Herc CH-160 aircraft. Got to work with a Hollywood producer who was on the latest Rambo film. We went to Las Vegas to see the premiere with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. Worked at the world's largest aquarium in Atlanta. Worked as a bartender in Halifax. Fashion buyer in Manhattan. Tossed pizzas as a pizza maker in Cape Cod. Florist in Edmonton. Cowboy in Wyoming with Chet the Cowboy. As a park ranger in Hawaii. My final job, week 52, I was back in my hometown of Port Moody, British Columbia, and I was the mayor. Time to clean this town up. Yeah. Kind of hard to do in a week. Yeah. So I had this amazing journey, and I ended up, my business degree did come in handy. And I ended up getting a sponsor on board because all my wages were going to charity. There's no way I could have survived, sustained the project if I didn't have a sponsor come on board. So they gave me $1,000 a month, this job search engine, and I had that for travel expenses. And I didn't have to pay for accommodation once the entire year. I slept on people's couches, most often stayed with my employers. People who had following along my journey would email me and say, "Hey, Sean, I see you're coming to town. You're welcome to crash on my couch." So in the end, I traveled over 74,000 kilometers and slept on 55 couches and raised over $20,000 for charity. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. So it all obviously begs the question, Sean, did you find your passion? It does have a happy ending. Yes, I did. I discovered that my passion is to explore and to help others. So more specifically, I'm most fulfilled in a teaching, coaching type of role. When I first started out the project, I thought that our passion is the job title. It's to teach or to be a doctor or construction worker or whatever. But what I learned is that our passion isn't the job title, it's what our job allows us to do that fulfills us. And our careers are only one means of fulfilling our passion. I met a lot of people in a career who, they were in a job that wasn't necessarily their passion, it wasn't their life's work, but it allowed them to fulfill their passions outside of work. I think when we think of finding our passion, we often think it has to be our livelihood. Well, this isn't always possible, or is it necessarily desirable? I met a photographer last year. Photography was her passion, and she worked really hard to make it her full-time job. It was a part-time thing for a really long time. When she finally got to that point, she realized that it became, wedding contract after wedding contract. It became this grueling work, and she would look at her camera on the table, and she wouldn't want to pick it up. And so what she realized is that she had to keep her work and her passion separately, right? So she had to take a job to pay the bills and maintain her photography outside as a hobby to express herself as in a creative outlet. What's most important is that in some aspect of our lives, we give ourselves permission to explore and express our passions, whether that is in our careers or on the weekends or in the evenings outside of work. I love what I do now. I speak at companies and schools about what I learned from the project. I'm working with a couple of teachers to develop a curriculum based on my book and documentary to help students discover what fulfills them. We've launched One Week Job Australia with a 24-year-old who's currently on week 25. And this summer, if we can land a sponsor, we're launching One Week Job USA with this 59-year-old woman from Portland, Oregon. Her kids are at college. She lost her life partner to brain cancer 2 years ago. And she's at this point, what's next? But she's super optimistic, positive, wants to be involved, make a difference. And, it just continually reminds me of this question of what do I want to do with my life is not something that we just face once out of school and leave behind us, but it's something we may readdress several times throughout our life. It's something that, perhaps if we're being laid off, or recent divorce, maybe retirement, looking for a career change. So it just represents something that we all share. It's the continual search for meaning in what we do. And I could always tell the people who were connected to the meaning behind their work and those who weren't. It was just a job. And if they weren't, they would tell me all about the ins and outs of the job. They'd tell me about, their job title, how many years they've been working with the company, their roles, responsibilities, job description. Whereas if they're connected to the meaning behind it, they're telling me their job title, but then they'd quickly get into the impact they were creating, the change that they were making, why their job was important, why it mattered. And what I discovered, it was the people who were the most fulfilled and most passionate were the ones who were connected to the meaning behind their work. And so no longer is work something we merely endure, but our work is becoming more connected to our life's work. It's our opportunity to share, to connect, to contribute our gifts, to make a meaningful contribution to the world.
Get the latest Idealist news, presenter information, and watch streaming video at ideacityonline.com. Moses Neimer's Idea City Conference. Ideas change the world.
Week 7, when I was a yoga instructor in Edmonton, yeah, that was a hard week. I met Henry, this yoga instructor, amazing guy. He became a yoga instructor at age 55. Now he's 57. And he saw his opportunity when the students come into his studio. It's his opportunity for them to leave the stresses of the outside world behind, and he can have this positive impact on them, calm and relax them. So at the end of the class, they carry this calmness into everything they do, right? And every single interaction that they have throughout the rest of the day. And so he saw it as he's creating ripple effects far beyond he knows the implications of. Week 44, I was in Boise, Idaho as a preschool teacher working with Ken. And this guy is just loves what he do. And I asked him, I said, what do you enjoy most about your job? And he said, when I see a kid climb the monkey bars for the first time or tie their shoes for the first time, to know that I'm playing a part in making that happen is incredible. So I think these examples, what they represent is how our relationship with work is changing. It's this shift that I think a lot of us can feel is happening. And I call it a revolution in work consciousness. And it's a shift in how we as a culture view work and our relationship to it. So no longer is work something we merely endure, but our work is becoming more connected to our life's work. It's our opportunity to share, to connect, to contribute our gifts, to make a meaningful contribution to the world. And what I'm really passionate about now is I feel like this is not being reflected in the school system. This change that's taking place is not being reflected in the school system. This focus on what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, many of us will struggle with this question for years. Some of us will never find the answer. And that's to really understand the answer, we must first have a good understanding of ourselves. What do you want to be? What do you want to be? It's not about becoming something else. It's about discovering and embodying who we are. Because who we are determines what we do. And we're most fulfilled when our outer world, our work, our relationships, what we do for fun, what we spend our time here doing, is connected to our inner world. Right? We're fulfilled because we're in touch with the truest sense of who we are. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to prove. What's amazing about experiencing this fulfillment, is that we feel whole, we feel complete. It's just this, it spills out. We want to share it with everyone. It impacts our friends, our family life, right? Our relationships. We're more likely to contribute to our communities. So instead of what do you want to be, let us ask, what fulfills you? What's the contribution you want to make? What makes you come alive? Instead of teaching children how to find work, what if we taught children how to find their life's work? How to discover their gifts, their talents, and created opportunities for them to explore and express their passions. That's the world I want to help create. I am Sean Aiken, and I'm a shameless idealist. Thank you.
I think I caught you in a small inconsistency. 52 weeks, 55 couches.
Yeah. There's a lot of moving around. And not every week I was on a couch as well. Sometimes I was put up. I was in a guest bedroom.
Right.
But some weeks I had to switch around.
Thrown out of one or two,
No.
I take it.
No, definitely not. No, I'm a good house guest.
All right.
Okay. That was beautiful. That was great.
Good.
Idea City is a place where ideas come face to face to inspire and give us hope. At this time, our planet needs it most. Idea City is a place. Everybody sing. Where ideas come face to face to inspire and give us hope. At this time,